Hi, I'm Doug Fields from Download Youth Ministry, and I'm super grateful that you'd take some time to learn, and especially to learn about what many consider to be the foundation of effective youth ministry, which is developing relationships with teenagers. And as we begin, I want you to know that if you love God and you genuinely care about teenagers, you're an invaluable asset to your youth ministry program. See, teenagers, they don't need you to be a theologian or a therapist as much as they need you to be someone who genuinely takes an interest in their lives. To be honest, I think there are some of us who make youth ministry appear a lot more difficult and confusing than it really is, and myself included. I mean, we promote the readings of textbooks with chapters like The Axioms of Youth Ministry or a theological, developmental, sociological, and historical framework for youth ministry. And how about this chapter? The Global Context of Youth Ministry. Just these titles alone, they intimidate my volunteers. Actually, they intimidate me too. And I've actually written, a couple textbooks. And the weird thing is, none of my volunteers read these books. They say things like, Doug, I need a book with a chapter that's titled, How to Prepare a Message in 10 Minutes, or How to Remove Carpet Stains After a Youth Group, or How do you continue to like a student who reminds you of Satan? Now, I don't want to suggest that you shouldn't think more deeply about youth ministry, not at all. I want you to think deeply about youth ministry, but I don't want you to think that youth ministry is on equal footing with rocket science either. I mean, good youth ministry isn't about having the perfect program or the incredible youth facility or even about you being the perfect youth worker. Youth ministry is about relationships. That when you strip youth ministry down to its essence, you have people, you and teenagers. And God uses people to impact people. This concept is typically referred to as relational youth ministry. And God modeled this to us when He became one of us in Jesus. In the Gospel of John, we read that God became flesh and lived among us. So what does that mean? It means God came to our world to be close to us. That's what relational youth ministry is. It flows from that theological concept. As caring adults, we move into the world of a teenager. We enter their world. We meet them in their struggles. We go to their turf. And while that may sound easy, relational youth ministry, it can actually be very difficult. And to be fair, what I want us to do is I just want us to pause quickly and consider some of the difficulties that you're going to encounter as you develop a relational youth ministry. First, you're going to encounter teenagers. And not every teenager you work with will be a saint. Now, some will be great. They're going to be easy to work with. They're going to like you and you're going to want to be with them. But some won't. I mean, most teenagers, think about this. They're not waking up in the morning going, I sure hope a caring adult will try to broker a relationship with me today and love me without condition and point me to Jesus. It's not going to happen that way. That's what they want. They just don't always know how to articulate it. Well, relational youth ministry can also be difficult because of teenage humor. I love humor. I love to laugh, and humor is a wonderful thing, but teenagers don't always understand how mean and painful it can be, especially when it's directed at you. They think that because you're an adult that you don't have feelings. And since sarcasm is the lowest hanging fruit on the humor tree, they grab it and they grab it often. And just know that as a relational youth worker, your feelings will be hurt. Relational youth ministry can also be difficult because of what I would call nonverbal teenagers. Some teens, they just don't know how to talk or carry on conversations, and you're going to actually try to get a conversation going with them and say something simple like, hey, how's it going? And all you get is this, kind of a silent head nod. How do you translate that? What does that mean? And since I'm not exactly sure, I just always think, it probably means they like me. But it probably means, hey, I'm not sure how I feel about you being here right now, and because I'm a teenager and I don't have good people skills, I'm not sure how to talk to others. You're just going to have to be patient with me until I learn to express myself. Well, in addition to being nonverbal, relational youth ministry becomes difficult because of busyness. And this isn't just about your busy schedule. Teenagers, they're very, very busy. They stay up late, they get up early, they're involved with more extracurricular activities than ever before. Sometimes I think if Jesus came to them and said, follow me, I think there's some teenagers in my ministry who would say, wow, Jesus, good to see you. Hey, I'm going to have to check my schedule. I'm pretty busy for the rest of the week. Can we just connect on Sunday? Busyness will definitely impact relational ministry, your busyness and their busyness. And finally, when it comes to difficulties, I think relational youth ministry is difficult because of our own insecurities. And I wish that all the difficulties surrounding relational youth ministry were just directed and pointed back at teenagers, but it's more complex than that. Every youth worker I've ever met has some very real fears. Fears like, I'm not cool, and what are they going to think about me, and I'm not smart enough, and I lack boldness, and I don't know the Bible well enough, and what if they reject me, and if they knew about my past, it's pretty embarrassing, and I have halitosis, and I'm not sure I can do this. Your insecurities, I promise you, they will come into play, but that's okay. You can battle through it because teenagers need you. Now, the reason I wanted to take some time to highlight these difficulties is because I like teenagers to at least have leaders to at least have an understanding that there will be some hurdles and difficulties to being relational. Okay, so now that we've got those out of the way, let's move on. Let's consider some types of relationships that make up relational youth ministry. I'm going to take you through 4 types. The first type of relationships is what I simply call contact relationship. The audience for the contact relationship is everyone. I mean, this is the basic initial stage of a relational ministry where you just make a contact with a student. You break the ice. This contact can happen because of a youth group or a program. It might be something spontaneous where you interact with a student at a school or a mall or a restaurant, whatever. This is just the basic, I recognize you, I want to know your name, I'm part of this youth ministry too. See, every encounter with a teenager is a potential ministry moment, and you can leave a kid feeling encouraged, and by making them feel like that you made significant contact in that moment. It's not deep, but it can become significant. So contact with everyone. A second type of relationship is what I refer to as the connect relationship. If the contact went well and the student didn't reject you and you don't want to quit, you begin to look for some connecting point. What is there that will give you the opportunity to get to know the teenager better? Now, you won't connect well with every teenager. There's definitely a chemistry piece, and it won't be good with everyone for every kid, and that's okay. But you're usually going to find within a conversation a positive connect with some, where you think to yourself, okay, there's more here. We can keep talking. I'm going to follow up with this person. Maybe we're beginning to develop some type of relationship. And hopefully you'll be able to connect with a lot of the teenagers in your youth group. Not all of them, but several. So, contact, connect. A third type of relational attempt is defined by the word care. This is where you begin to consciously care for teenagers by pursuing intentional time with them. You might show a personalized interest and use a small opportunity like a text message or a phone call to communicate that he or she is important enough for you to stop your world and enter into their world. So let's review for a second. With the type 1, I make a contact with almost everyone. Type 2, I connect with most through conversation. But realistically, with type 3, the care, I can probably only genuinely care for a few. And if that's you, please don't feel guilty about being limited to care for only a few. That's your job. You can't personally care for everyone in your youth ministry. You're going to need help from other caring adults, and that's the beauty and the power of a team. So make sure you rely on others, and together we care for everyone. And the last type, as we continue to slice relational ministry into smaller pieces, is what I refer to as the challenge relationship. And you knew it had to start with a C, right? I can make contact with everyone. I can connect with almost everyone. I'll wind up caring for a few, and I can challenge one or maybe two in much deeper ways. See, this becomes a more selective relationship where you challenge a student's actions and their character and their choices. You actually make intentional directives regarding his or her spiritual journey. You intentionally influence their life by challenging their assumptions and asking more difficult questions and walking with them during their journey. And at first you might think, well, Doug, I want to do that with every teenager I meet. I know, that's great. But chances are good not every teenager wants you messing in their life if you don't already have a deep relationship with them. See, this type of relational discipleship takes time. But when you get there, oh, I promise, it's rich. And my experience has been that with this type of deeper relationship, it will last a lifetime. Now, I realize this is a lot of information to take in. And don't be too nervous about all of this. True relational youth ministry, it's a lot of work, but there are amazing benefits. Teenagers change. They go back, and oftentimes they impact their families. You change. They want to grow. You want to grow. And then you actually make a lasting mark on a young life, and you'll find that God uses you in ways that you never imagined. Relational youth ministry is life on life. It's an adult follower of Jesus intersecting the world of a teenager. And thank you for being that rare adult who cares about teenagers and takes an interest in their lives. So blessings to you as you engage in relational youth ministry.